Hi everybody, this is Mr. Cohen here, and believe it or not, this is my effort number 3 at making a video for you about species counterpoint, chapter 8 in the Benward book. So my old computer failed me 5 minutes in, and then again 30 seconds after that when I restarted, so I'm on my wife's newer computer, and I don't have access to this every day. So here we go. You should know we're going to be doing Species 1. This is going to be about Species 1, for now at least. So when we get that far, I'll be skipping 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't worry about it. It'll be good for what we're doing on Noteflight. You can see up here, I've got Noteflight open. There's our little logo. And of course, right now I'm on the Benward book. I'll be reading some of it. I completely expect you to read. In fact, today, Friday, your first posts on EQ and the quiz were due. So if you've done the quiz, well, then that means you've read the book. And the EQ was supposed to have been done before you read the book. So away we go. Species counterpoint. Voice leading is the term, you're going to read that by yourself. Species counterpoint is an approach to counterpoint through the addition of contrapuntal voices to a given melody called the cantus firmus. So there you go. The melody itself is called cantus firmus, or cantus firmus, if you will. Species counterpoint begins with simple note against note counterpoint and progresses to complex counterpoint in 5 stages called the 5 species. By the way, I'm going to encourage you to read through the supplemental material that you find in the lessons. Okay, I already pointed that out to you on the actual news item I wrote, but you really want to read those because they clear this up a lot. The cantus firmus. Cantus firmus is a fixed melody. It is the melody. One phrase in length that terminates in a melodic cadence. It serves as the basis for other independent but related melodies. So whenever you have the one line, that's your cantus firmus. Then the counterpoint. It's a second voice created according to, well, rules that accompanies the cantus firmus. For each note in the cantus firmus, the counterpoint will have 1 or more notes. Actually, since we're only doing first species right now, it will only have 1 note. First species counterpoint consists of 1 note in the counterpoint for each note in the cantus firmus. So let's get going. Here's your cantus firmus. Here's your counterpoint. It's 1 for 1. 1 note for every one. It gets more complicated later, and I'm not even going to read those to you. That was your job. That's still your job. They will come up along the way, but not today. The 5th species. There's a great history explaining why Mr. Fuchs here wrote a great book about how this all began, and it was really the beginning of theory. It's awesome. Read it. Okay, so this is all based around modes. Do you remember modes? Because here we go. I think we go again. At any rate, you like listening to my 5-year-old while I do this? It's great. The cantus firmi and contrapuntal melodies of species counterpoint are composed using modes. Each mode is identified by its beginning tone called the final. I love that. The first note is called the final. That's great. And all of your cantus firmi will end on a final. And consists of a specific arrangement of whole and half steps. So we'll get back to those later. This just explains them all. As a percussionist, I play the modes all the time in my warm-ups. Like if I start on a C major scale, which is what I do, I go up 2 octaves, come back down, straight 8th notes, and then I start on the 2nd note. That's a Dorian. I play all the way through that. I start on the 3rd note, I play all the way through that, and I work my way all the way up and back down through all the modes. It is so many scales that I play in my warm-ups. I love it. Melodic characteristics. It's how to write a good melody for the cantus firmus. So actually even the counterpoint. Melodies in both of those consist primarily of conjunct motion with an occasional leap. For example, cantus firmus here contains 7 steps but only 3 leaps. So we leap a little, we walk down. We leap a little, we walk down, we leap a little, and then we come all the way down to the final. Got that? We leap very little. Mostly we try to move around just a little bit, just in steps. 2 successive leaps in the same direction are usually not part of the style unless you're outlining a triad. So don't do this, but right there is okay because you outlined one triad. Don't try to outline a whole bunch of triads in the same little melody. Going to be marked wrong. Avoid augmented fourths, diminished fifths, and the sevenths. You can avoid the tritone if you have an F by adding a B flat. Flat your B, and that's okay to do. Usually you would descend scale motion, right, to get away from it. So that's just reading. Read those. Avoid repeated figures, doing that and doing that again. Sequences, we just studied those. Well, don't do them in this. It's okay to use them in our regular composition, but not right now. Avoid melodic segments that outline a tritone. So F walking up to a B is a no-no. That's where you would put a B flat on it, right? Or just don't do it. The total range of a melody should rarely exceed an octave and should never exceed a tenth. So this range of a fifth here is beautiful. This from a C all the way up to an F, that's an 11th, that's too much. It's going to be marked wrong. In this first species, you will write one note, well, it's 1 for 1. One note species, one note counterpoint. Never mind all that, that's reading, it's good stuff. How to begin the counterpoint. If the counterpoint is above the cantus firmus, that's right here. Cantus firmus there, counterpoint above, then first note of the counterpoint should be, it's actually must be, a unison, a fifth, perfect fifth, or a perfect octave. If the counterpoint is below, I have to scroll down a little. So you have the counterpoint below the cantus firmus. I'm going to go back to my rule. The first note of the counterpoint should be, must be, a perfect 1 or a perfect 8. You're going to have to know these rules. Know them, love them. Ending the counterpoint. The cantus firmi of species counterpoint are in Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, blah, blah, blah. In every case, the cantus, you know what it is? It's every mode except the 7th. In every case, the cantus firmus will end with a descent by step to the final. There's a fixed formula. So, let's get it. Look at that. You're going to want to pay special attention. On Dorian, you're going to raise the 7th. Phrygian, you don't. Lydian, you don't. Mixolydian, you do raise the 7th. Aeolian, you raise the 7th. And Ionian, you don't because, well, that's already a half step. So what good would it do you? Turn the page, baby. Turn the page. It didn't turn the page. Okay. Here we don't raise the 7th because it's too close to a not raised 7th, right? So pay attention to that. It's okay if there's a leap and you're not using that same note twice. You're going to have to wait a minute, Rye. I'm making a video, and now you're on my video. Filling in the remaining notes. With the beginning and the end of the exercise completed, it's time to fill in the remaining notes. The only intervals allowed between the two voices are the types of thirds, perfect fifth, the types of 6, perfect 8, mate, and the 2 types of 10th. The unison is not acceptable in any place other than the first and final measure of the exercise. Read that to yourself again. That's huge. So here it gives you the outline of what those intervals are and what they look like. And then the 4 basic principles of voice leading. From one perfect consonance, perfect interval, to another perfect interval, a different perfect interval, proceeding contrary or oblique motion. Remember oblique motion? That's where one note stays and the other one moves. Contrary, they move in the opposite direction. From a perfect interval to an imperfect, major or minor, proceed by similar, contrary, or oblique motion. That gives you more choices, and there they are. From an imperfect consonance to a perfect consonance interval, proceed in contrary or oblique. From one imperfect to another imperfect, proceed in contrary motion, parallel motion, similar. There's all kinds of choices there. It's good stuff, right? Pardon me. In general, there should be no more than 2 tied or repeated notes in a single exercise. Therefore, use oblique motion sparingly. That's important too. Read it, read it, read it. And there's avoid that, and do that, and please read them, and read them, and read them. Now, when we get into the assignments, and we read about what it says, on this first one, I have to move that down. There we go. We have two-voice counterpart, or species 1. There are errors already in it. So color the note or notes where the errors are, then explain what the error was. We're only using the first species rules. Okay, it's completely possible that on these you might find no errors. It's possible to find no errors. You got that? Don't think you're wrong necessarily, but be careful. You can have errors from note to note on one line, either line, and between the notes. There's all kinds of ways these can go. So follow all the rules and read the book and reread the book, and don't just accept that you've done it all. Go back and do it again because it's so complex. Ask me questions, ask each other questions. We're all here to answer, except this weekend, right? You know that I'm not around this weekend. Okay, the other one. Go to the rules or the instructions. Compose. Okay, so now there's already something written. There's already a cantus firmus. So write your counterpoint above cantus firmus for both of the A problems, and write the counterpoint below for both of the B. Follow the principles of first rule, first species counterpoint. Pay attention to the beginnings and the endings, and then go back and do the middles. So 1A and 2A, you already got your cantus firmus below, write your counterpoint above. Likewise, 1B and 2B, cantus firmus above, so write your counterpoint below. Use all the rules. Start at the beginning, focus on a few notes, go back to the end, your final, go back a few notes, and then write the middle, and the book even explains how you should do that. We went over that, am I right? That is the gist of how you do it. It's maybe a little more in-depth than the book. I hope it's more in-depth than the book, because I took you into Noteflight. You're probably still going to have questions. So please ask them. Don't just wait and get a bad grade and then say, oh, I didn't know that. I guess I'll do better next time. Which is, acceptable, but do your best, do your best, do your best. If you do it all on Tuesday, oh my gosh, if you do it only on Tuesday, you're asking for trouble. Please start. Get going on this. And by the way, just to take your time a little bit more, no, just because I thought of it now, when you're writing your compositions, you're not writing anything right now, right? Follow the instructions for this week. You're not writing a composition yet. That comes over the next 2 weeks. So really, you're just opening a Noteflight score and sharing it with people and saying, look at me. It's either going to be just piano or piano with a single voice. Do not write a symphony, okay? And it's not going to be particularly long. The rules are all there for you. Please pay attention. I'm sure you'll do great, and I'll be looking for those later, but not right now. Make sure you have all your posts in for discussions. I'm going to leave you now. Good job. Don't look for me this weekend. I have Army. Bye-bye.